I'm still here. I was asked if I would tell the story of what happened when I was 45. I did some thinking about it, and I decided it might be helpful to share what happened because I have some points that can help you. And if this helps just one person, it makes it worthwhile. Unfortunately, I have to refer to my childhood again, but it's because what happens to us in childhood can have long-term ramifications. I was really teased when I was a child. It went on through preschool, and I was under that pressure until I left to go to college. And then things got better for me. And I hadn't really taken care of it because I didn't know what to do about it. I'd had therapy a time or two, just really briefly. Like when I was in college, I had the expectation that I would get straight A's because my older brother did. And the first time I got a B+ on a test in sociology, I went up to the teacher and I burst into tears, and he said, "This is not a normal reaction because a B+ is a really good grade in my class." And he asked me if I'd go over to the counseling center. So I did, and her goal was to help me to see that I'm not my brother. I did not have to compete with my brother, and it's all right to just relax and do what you can do and just enjoy yourself, which I did. It was very helpful. And then we had some counseling off and on because we have some challenging and handicapped kids, and I needed some help getting through that. I went to college and got my degree in music and became a music teacher, which I just loved, and I just adored those kids. And everything was great when we lived in California. But then we moved up to Utah. I got an assignment or a job at a junior high. I loved the principal, and she loved me, and there were some of the teachers that really liked me. But unfortunately, the other two music teachers, for I don't know why, didn't like me. They were a lot younger than me, and I didn't have my own room. I was the orchestra and general music teacher. And so I had to share rooms with the science teacher, who I got along with really well, and then both the band and the choir teacher. Things got really difficult because they were really upset at me, and they were upset that the kids really liked me and that I did really well, and I'd had a really good education and I had a certain amount of talent for it, but they really didn't like me, and the pressure got so terrible. But I got so upset, and I tried taking some antidepressants, and they were wrong, and I just gained weight, and I think they made me even more weepy, and it was just really hard. And so an opportunity came up to be a teacher at a school that had a beautiful music room, and it was just a few blocks from my house, and I had been driving clear across the Salt Lake Valley. So I applied for that job, and I got it, and I didn't know why there was an opening. And it turns out the reason there was an opening was because there was a group of kids, and at that time they were 8th, and by the time I had them, they were 9th grade, and it was in the choir. They had driven out the music teacher before, who was a good music teacher. And then there was a brand new principal and vice principal assigned to that school, and they had never had those positions before. So they were not really up on what it took to manage a situation like that. So I started with that school, and I just thought everything's going to be great. And I had 6 classes, and 5 of the classes were awesome. I loved those kids. I loved the room. And even in the problem choir, there were kids in there who loved me and were so good to me. I remember one day I came in there, and this girl had written "Mrs. Paxson ruled" and kind of lifted her skirt a little bit so I could see it because she had written on her legs. But unfortunately, there were those kids, those 9th grade kids, who were determined to run me out too. And every day got so stressful for me. It was awful. I'd come home and I didn't know what I was going to do. And then I was also having trouble with my 2 oldest boys at that time. Everything's fine. They're adults. They grew up. But at that time, it was really hard. I had the one in therapy because he was having really trouble with the fact that he was adopted, which is a common situation. But he's fine now and we're close. Just to know, things turned out okay there. And my husband was just doing like contract type jobs. He didn't have like an actual steady job, and so we were depending on me. I only got $1,400 a month, and our rent was $1,200 a month, and so the financial pressure was really hard. So just my whole life was really hard at that time. And so then it kind of came to a head because one day this choir, I needed a pianist so that I could keep my eye on my students all the time because I always really prided myself on the fact that my students were safe in my room. So I went there this one day, and there was a kid in my classroom who had diabetes. And it was fifth period, so right before lunch. And it was not uncommon for him to come and say, Mrs. Paxman, I need to do a blood test. And he did. And he'd say, I need to go to lunch. And I'd, okay, because he was a really trustworthy kid. He'd go to lunch. But this one day, I had been having the kids sing the song a cappella all the period long so I could keep my eye on them, but I finally had to play the piano. So I was playing the piano, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw some chairs switch place, which was not normal. And when the class ended, I knew something had gone on with this kid who had diabetes, and he was kind of foaming at the mouth, and I told him, spit it out. And so he got the garbage can, and he was spitting and spitting and spitting. And I had sent the 3 boys up to the practice rooms until I could talk to him. When he finally got so he could talk, he said, Mrs. Paxman, they held me down and made me eat pixie stick, which was just horrifying. Those kids had purposely put that kid's life at risk. I said, I'm going to talk to you about this later. I put in a referral for the 2 kids that had done this. And then I went home, and I was just kind of like, oh. And I came in, and one of my kids was just instantly, and I was in such bad shape, I couldn't really handle it. And I got up and I walked in the closet because I needed some time to think. My husband came home and he was looking for me. So where's Mommy? And my daughter said, she's in the closet. So he opened the closet door, and I was like, oh, I can't do this, Gary, I can't do this. Because if you're a teacher and you just suddenly quit your contract, then your career could be over. But I couldn't face going there the next day because I couldn't promise that that kid's life would be any safer than it was that day, because I knew that when I turned in the referral, they wouldn't do anything about it, which is what happened. They just basically said, oh, don't do it again. Well, when you have something serious happens, there has to be consequences, or the kids get the message, you know, we can do anything we want. So I was really devastated about it, and I didn't want to come out. I just didn't know what to do. And he got scared. He called my son's therapist, who talked to me, and she said, do you feel safe? And I said, no, I don't. And I didn't necessarily mean that I don't want to say the big bad word because then I'll get in trouble with YouTube. So I'm hoping you know what the big bad word is. It starts with an S. Okay? So I didn't believe I'd do that, but I really didn't feel safe. And she said, can you handle things? And I said, no. And she said, okay, I'm going to call you back. So she called this private hospital that she knew, had me check myself in, and things were so rough that I was like, my motivation was like, I have to get out of here. I have to have some time to think. And if I checked myself in the hospital, then they wouldn't just fire me. I had a chance to kind of get myself back together. So when I was there, I saw the psychiatrist that night, and he took my history, and he said, you know, this is situational, and we'll get you through that. And he prescribed a really good sleeping pill, which is Ambien, which I'm taking to this day. And then I had a psychologist assigned to me, and it turned out he was a teacher. And when he heard my teaching assignment, how many kids I had and what they were asking me to do, he said, this is not reasonable. You should not have to do this. So, but I was there, I don't know, I think 4 or 5 days, and I got to know the other patients. It wasn't like you imagine, at least it wasn't in this. They were all really nice people, and we were all working really hard together in group, and my therapist was wonderful, and he immediately got me journaling, which I had really never done, and writing down. He'd give me assignments. Write this down. Like, write all the things. They're automatic things that you get in your head, which a lot of those just come from when you're a child and the things that your parents say. Like, my mom would say, well, the mom gets the smallest piece. Things like that. So I wrote all those down. He asked me to write down what I like, what I do not like. I had a hard time writing those lists. Didn't necessarily want to see my journal. He just wanted me to really get going on that. And then we had some therapy, and then I continued with him after I got out of the hospital. Well, he was a trauma specialist. And so he had methods of dealing with traumatic things that happened in your life that didn't require you to sit and recount it all, to say it out loud, which is sometimes really hard to do. And I had a sexual abuse situation when I couldn't even tell you, maybe 3 or 4. And I hadn't even remembered it until I was an adult. And then, of course, when I remembered, it was like, I didn't know what to do with it. He had a way, and I think it's called rapid eye movement, where you just think about what it is, and then you do the rapid eye movement, and it processes what happened in your brain. And it was kind of like an eraser. I mean, I still know it happened, but the pain was erased. And then we did that same thing with the situations that had happened when I was teased. And there were one or two that really bad, like there was one when I was in 7th grade where the girls held me down. The gym teacher wasn't there, and they held me down and pounded on my chest and said, "You'll get breast cancer, you'll get breast cancer." So that kind of thing happened to me. And you notice I can tell you that without crying, because doing that type of therapy, it just like took the pain away, and then I didn't need to do anything else. And he said the funny thing about it with trauma is sometimes when you pull at one thread, the whole thing will unravel. So I can remember what happened. I can talk about it. I can not be upset. I have forgiven those kids. They were just kids. I have forgiven them. I don't feel any need to be around them. I have zero need to go to a high school reunion, but I don't hate them. I don't feel bad about them. I can talk freely about what happened. It doesn't cause me pain. I don't cry. He walked me through a number of things, and he had me do that, and he did other things like where he'd have me relax, and then he would kind of walk me through a situation. I remember one day he walked through a situation where I was walking down a lane, and I came to a tree, and there's somebody sitting by the tree, and who is it sitting by the tree? And I'm like, "Oh, that's me when I was about 4. Well, what do you need?" "I just need to be hugged." So I was, hugging. And then I got into art and drawing art and just working things out. And he had said to me really early, the goal here is not to have you as like my permanent patient. We're talking things. The goal here is to work through some of these things so then you'll be able to be on your own. He was able to do that. I think I was in therapy 3, 4, 5 months. I'm not exactly sure. And at first it was twice a week, and then it got to once a week, and then every other week. And then it was just like, one day I was like, yeah, I guess I don't need to come back anymore. But I was very active in my recovery. I went to the Salt Lake Library system, and I read every book on how to recover and what to do. And there were a couple that really helped me. One was that taught you about your brain, and I've mentioned it before. Like if you're thinking this negative thing, to train your brain to move to something else. And one of the things I learned to do is when I think about that, then to immediately go to, well, here's the good thing that happens. I used to do that at work. Like I'd have to describe to my boss a difficult situation, and then I would always go, but on the upside, and I always had an upside. Maybe we were going to learn something or do something better. I trained myself to do that through that thought substitution. And another thing is I found Louise Hay books. I read one of them where you learn to just say good things to yourself. And I had realized that I'd spent a lifetime just kind of cutting myself down and criticizing myself and saying I was too fat and all these things that I'd learned from other people. I had that voice in my head. The Louise Hay book taught me to say good things to myself, which is something I really needed to do. And after that, I learned that when I got in a situation that was a little rougher than usual, I would find a therapist. And I learned that if you don't click with the first one and they are not helpful to you, I had one therapist who found out why I was good with, I knew digital marketing, and she wanted me to give her business advice. And she would tell me about her family when one listened to me. Well, yeah, I quit that. So I learned that if the therapist isn't helpful, then you need to switch. But I had one therapist, really all I needed to do was safely vent about the things that were happening at work, with my boss, at home, because I really didn't want to make things harder on Gary by telling him. So I just needed to freely vent. I told him that's all I needed to do. And so he was helpful to me for that reason. Even if I'd had a really good friend, I don't know that I would have wanted to vent in that way. I mean, I went through my mother's death and everything, and then just one day I'd be like, yeah, I don't need to go back. And I'd had another situation with him where I'm just, yeah, I don't need to go back. And then when I went back, I said, are you offended by that? And he's like, no. I don't let things fester. I also learned really good skills on what I can do when I find things are hard. And I've had some real learnings from this. So the first one is don't be afraid to get help. Don't be ashamed of it. Like when I had that therapy in college, so I didn't compare myself with my brother. I never told anybody. When I had this big crisis, I was so ashamed of it. I didn't want anybody to know. And our bishop knew. He's like, we have congregations, and it's kind of like the shepherd, the leader of the congregation. It's all volunteer thing. We don't have any paid clergy in our church. But he knew, and his wife, who was the compassionate service leader, where we do things for each other, she knew. And they wanted to bring in dinner twice a week. And we really needed it, but I didn't want anybody to know about this. She would have people, the women, deliver the meal to her, and she'd bring it to us. And it took me a long, long time before I was able to talk about it and talk to my parents about the things I was learning. And it was a very slow, hard process. But I got to the point where I am just fine with talking about it. My challenges, what I've learned from them, my mistakes, my current challenges, because I feel that life is a school, and we are to learn to help each other. And I think one of the best ways I can help other people is just to share my experience with them. And I'm not ashamed. We all have weaknesses. We all have mistakes. We all have bad things that have happened to us. And just because those things happen doesn't mean that we are not a worthwhile, valuable, good person. As you've learned to reflect back on your life and think about the bad things that have happened to you, to see, well, maybe I did this and I added to this, or I'm ready to see, yeah, I really shouldn't have done that thing, and I can see that was hurtful to this person. Then make up for it to the best of your ability. If you decide to apologize, don't have any weight on them accepting your apology. That's not important. That's between them and God. That is their thing, whether they accept your apology or not. But it's important for you that you do. I had a situation with somebody where I felt bad about what had happened. I wasn't sure if I needed to apologize or not. I wrote them a very long letter, which I went over everything that had happened, and I was going to send it, and then Heavenly Father's like, no, you don't need to send it. I'm not saying that I hear things out of line. It just comes to me, spiritual impressions, right? No, you don't need to send it. And then I took it out to our fire pit and I burned it and watched the ashes go up in the sky. And I felt so much better. And I released that. And then I didn't concern myself about how she felt about me. That didn't matter. I learned that God is really proud of you when you go through really difficult challenges and you turn to Him for help, or you get the help you need and you learn from it. I didn't tell you what the big crisis was where the yes word that we talked about was involved. I had one night where I got so low, and I was home from the hospital by then because I was up and down, which is normal when you're recovering for something like that. I went in my bathroom and I had this bottle. It's amitriptyline, I think it was liquid. And I had been given that for my sleep because of the fibromyalgia. And I still had a lot left. And I was sitting there holding that bottle. I was crying, and the thought was coming to me, they'd be better off without you. I was crying. I was considering it. But I was going through everything. And when it came down to it, I knew I cannot do this. And the reason why, what makes it so I can say, I'm still here. I'm still here. It's because I know that I'm a precious child of God, that Jesus Christ is my Savior, that there is purpose for my life, and that my number one goal in my life is that I can return to be home with Heavenly Father and Jesus Christ when it is the right time and they call me home, to live my life so that I can come home. It just came over me. I love you, Roseanne. I love you. I love you. And I dumped the bottle down the sink. And so it was like 6 months later, I think, that I'd got that. Oh no, he's so mad at me that I thought about that. Oh, this is terrible. And it came to me in my mind, a spiritual impression, just as clear as could be. No, Roseanne, I'm so proud of you. You suffered that big temptation and you didn't do it. That's such a big thing that you didn't do it. I'm so proud of you. And that was the beginning of me being more open about what had happened, and that whole process of getting well and over it was, I call it up and downhill. You'd start going up and then something would happen and you'd go down again, and then you'd go up and then you'd go down. But overall, there's kind of a trajectory. I think it took me 2 years to get over that. That doesn't mean I didn't ever have any depression again, but never to that extent, because I never let myself get to that extent. When feelings like that would come to me, I'd go, nope, not going there. not going there. And after a while, those impressions never came to me again because I would so quickly come back. Nope, not going there. And I learned to do that about all kinds of things. Bad feelings about myself, go, nope, not going there. That's why I keep saying that learning to change your thought processes like that and really quickly have a comeback. Like, I've been through hard times before, and I can get through this too. To have a comeback to yourself is really a powerful thing. So my hope is that this will in some way comfort you or inspire you or just to help you know that you're worthwhile and that challenges can be overcome, but you have to be willing to take part in that and do something in that, and then not expect your life to be easy and smooth all the time and for things to never go wrong, to never get sick, to never have challenges like I've experienced. And sometimes you'll have challenges that temporarily knock you off your feet. Once you understand that, it makes it a little bit easier to get through. This occurs to me that I was blessed in that I have a very loving husband and loving parents and all of that. But sometimes people who are going through things like that or don't have, like I've had some truly abusive bosses in my life. I mean, I won't describe it, but truly. And I learned that if you're in a situation like that, they're not going to change, and there's nothing you can personally do to make them change or to change their mind about you. Just go somewhere else. If you're in a really abusive situation, that is that person. It's not you. And you need to take care of yourself, whatever that means. So just think about that, because sometimes it's those situations that can drag us down the very most. And oh, by the way, that year they drove out 3 other perfectly capable teachers. 5 teachers altogether. The teacher the year before me and 3 other teachers. 5 teachers. And the irony of it is, if I could have gone through the year, those kids were 9th graders. They were going to go into high school. And I would have been left with the good, nice kids and things would have been okay. But I just was not able to get through that. And I ended up losing my teaching career after all. And it thrust me into technology, and I ended up with my own company, and I had a lot of really great experiences that I'm really glad I had. Sometimes things work out. My life completely shifted, and it shifts again, and it shifts again. It's all right. One of the most powerful things I've learned to do is when I pray, I thank Heavenly Father for the challenges that I've had, health challenges and other challenges, because I've learned so much and I feel like I'm a better person. I don't think that He necessarily caused them. I just think it's part of our frail, crazy world with people, and we make mistakes and we do the wrong things, and then there's natural disasters and our bodies are frail and we get sick and stuff. But we learn from those things, and it was good for us to learn from those things. And I'm grateful for them, and I'm grateful for everything I'm learning. Like, I've learned so much from having a YouTube channel because I've had to really confront my feelings about what does it mean if people don't watch my videos? Does that mean that people don't like me? Learning to really accept it doesn't matter. I'm doing it because I enjoy the creativity of it. I enjoy passing on my thoughts. I enjoy getting to meet these wonderful people and making friends. And I really enjoy the thought that maybe by me being open about what's happened, that I'm helping someone else. It makes the whole thing, the whole 4.5 years, whatever I do in the future, it makes it worthwhile. I'd love to hear from you in the comments what you think, if you relate to any of this. And I hope I see you again. Bye.